Hey, so just wanted to record this part just before the video gets started. So today I did my first live presentation on film to a bunch of students in my school who had the opportunity to sign up to my session, which was super interesting. It went super well, which you're gonna see. But what I'm asking you guys to do is please critique me because this is my first time speaking and I want to become better at public speaking. So if you notice anything while I'm speaking that I can improve on, please let me know because I do want to become better at that. You know, we're not perfect, everything can be improved. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. I'm grade 12 here. I have been making films since grade 8. I originally started doing YouTube videos in grade 8. I actually wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to, you know, it wasn't just like, it was originally kind of about the money because I know they made millions of dollars, but then I started making videos and I got super into it and I started making weekly videos and that slowly went into filmmaking and making serious films. So filmmaking is my preferred medium of storytelling rather than stories, books, face-to-face. I find movies are the best for me. So why do we choose film? So the reason behind choosing films rather than another medium is that film lets us showcase a perspective that we wouldn't otherwise be able to see, first off. So a good example of this would be Boys in the Hood. It's a film about a group of black guys in a bad community dealing with a tough time, right? You wouldn't be able to be put into their situation in a novel or through someone telling you that. You can only experience that through their eyes, which is something that only cinema can give you. So that's just a little debrief on films and how powerful they can be, right? So in 48 hours, I entered a film festival with my friend, me and Kevin Kim. He's not here right now, he's actually in Korea filming for an event there, the Olympics. It's pretty sweet. But question is, how did we win against 116 other student-made films against the province? First, I want to preface that winning isn't really something that I kind of agree with because with film, it's all creative, so you can't really judge creativity, right? So there have been some festivals that I had won, I didn't think I deserved to win, and there have been festivals that I think I should have won and I didn't. So I don't really agree with the award system, but still, this festival was a really interesting one because in 48 hours, we had to write, film, and edit this festival. So what the festival was about, we were given a prop and a theme. Now the prop was a stamp and the theme was a blessing in disguise. So we had to, in our story, include the stamp and have the theme a blessing in disguise. Write, edit, produce it in 48 hours. And we were faced with a lot of limitations compared to the other 116 other filmmakers. So some of those limitations we used in-camera audio. So we had professional audio that we used to film, but we didn't put it in the final film because we didn't have enough time. We had no color correction, which means the film looked really like bland. It didn't have any color at all. It was almost black and white. It was really, really bland. It had no budget. So a lot of the films here were from schools producing these films. They worked in their class. They all put in money to make their films. We didn't have that because it was only me, Kevin, and another crew member. Speaking of crew, we had minimal crew. We had the smallest crew imaginable. Like I said, all the other filmmakers had their entire classes from fine arts and stuff like that or across the province working in these huge groups. We only had 3 people. And then finally, we only had 4 hours to write the script before filming. That's because we spent roughly 10 hours with my family trying to brainstorm ideas for stories. We nailed some down. It just didn't work out because we thought that the stamp and the theme wasn't motivated by the story, so we had to scratch it. We went to bed for 2 hours, woke up at 4 a.m., started writing something that we knew we could go off of, and from there we had 4 hours, which is ridiculous because generally a lot of the classes prep in advance for what they want to do. So the question now is, with all that, how did we actually win against everyone else? What made us win? There's one answer, guys. It's one simple answer. It was the story. The story is king. If you can only take one thing away from this lesson, no matter what you do, guys, story is king. So in our film, the the stamp served as the motivation to the story. So without the stamp, the story wouldn't have worked. And it also served as the blessing in disguise. So I was surprised when I went to the festival to see that a lot of the films didn't actually have a stamp. They didn't actually have a stamp or a theme whatsoever. So I was very surprised with that. Now, we used the stamp and the stamp as the blessing in disguise. It was very smart. So we had to work off that. Now, you're probably wondering now, how do we get a good story? So, in choosing what you wanted to include in your story, if you're making a story, you want to ask yourself if you're captivated writing it. So I know a lot of writers that they struggle to write, they procrastinate, and they just like, oh, I gotta go write this thing, or they get brain blocks, and I'm thinking like, dude, writing should be the most exciting part of your day. If you're not excited writing your story, then it's not a good story. And another key thing, making your story, you have it finished, try and summarize your story in one sentence, tell it to a friend, and ask them if they'd be interested in watching that. If they seem at all intrigued whatsoever, then you got a good, interesting story. When making another story, guys, a good story can be summarized in a very simple, easy technique to use, is make it unique. If a story is unique, most likely it is good. So that's just basically avoid cliches. Now, up there, that's me, that's my YouTube channel. I made a whole video on this, on cliches, and how you should avoid them, but how you can also work with them. So if you wanted to check that out, you can. So when making something unique, this includes the plot line of the story, so the events that are happening should be unique, the characters you should make should be unique, and the lines of dialogue that they are saying should be unique, okay? They say, this is kind of an interesting line, they say that there are no new stories being told, there are only old stories being told in new ways, if that makes sense. So you want to try and stretch that as far as you can to make a unique story. But being unique isn't just enough. I want everyone to just spend a minute looking at this picture and think what you think this story is, or what do you think is going on in the scene, okay? Who's got an idea of what could be happening? Yes?
There's food in the tire.
There's food in the tire? Okay. Did you guys come up with something? Yeah?
Maybe there's something behind the tire that he's trying to get to, but he's scared of the tire.
Okay, good, good. Anyone else? Over here? Not Fast and Furious?
Maybe the tire's scared of the bunny.
Maybe the tire's scared of the bunny. Okay, this is a screenshot. This is a screenshot from a film called Rubber. It's a sentient tire that has mind-controlling powers, that has the ability to explode animals as well as people's heads. It is a terrible movie, but it is unique. So the point, yeah, it's very bad, but the point is that just making a story unique doesn't mean it's good. Being unique doesn't make it interesting. So you can have the most unique story like this, but it's not going to be interesting. Like it's a boring plot. So every story follows a simple formula. Basically, there's a conflict and a struggle, and the conflict and the struggle is as a result to reach their goal. So if they want to rob a bank, they can't rob the bank without the conflict of, they don't have a car to get away in, right? The conflict and the desire, they want. Their goal is to rob the bank, and their conflict is that they don't have a car. So every story has a conflict and a goal. So as long as the conflict and the struggle to reach your goal isn't of high stakes, of high value, the story won't be interesting. So I mentioned the bank and the car. If he doesn't have the car and if he doesn't have the car, then it's high stakes because he can't rob the bank, right? We're talking high value stuff here. So here is an interesting thing I had noticed. So this is IMDb's top 3 movies. They all follow the same formula of conflict and desire. So has anyone seen any of these movies? Anyone recognize them? Everyone seen them? This is Shawshank Redemption. This is #1 on IMDb. It's basically a prison movie. That's all you need to know. An innocent man was convicted of a crime he didn't do. This is Godfather, and of course Dark Knight Rises. So in Shawshank Redemption, what's the conflict and what's his desire? So of course, because these are the top 3 best movies, guys, it's not going to be as simple as robbing a bank, needing a car. They are much more complex, which is something a lot more advanced, but I'll give you guys what these ones are. So the conflict is overcoming the institutional pessimism, which means that once you're in prison, everyone's pessimistic, you can't remember the outside world, and the desire is not to forget for our main character. He doesn't want to forget the outside world. The Godfather, the conflict is to overcome the inevitable cycle of violence, and he desires like freedom and protection of his family, so he wants to get away from the violence. And then Dark Knight Rises is a little easier to sum up. It's defeating a murderer without becoming the murderer. So the desire, the want, is defeating a murderer, and then the conflict is becoming the murderer. So he slowly becomes the murderer. That's the conflict. So when creating a story, I'm talking about story a lot, guys, because it is the bread and butter of film. Literally, no one will tell you this. You can spend all your time on filming and editing. It will be trash unless you have a good story. No one will notice it. I'm telling you this now. That's why story is so important. That's why so many books have been written on just story. So this is a very key thing. This is a very simple tip you guys can make to write a story. So when you choose a story, or not when you choose a story, when you're sitting blank, fresh, you don't have anything, choose a theme and then work around that theme to create a story. But let the audience come to that theme by themselves. So here are some themes from some movies. I want you guys to tell me what you think they're from. So I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. Does anyone know what movie that's from? Yeah? Yeah, it's from Forrest Gump. So I'm not saying they did this, but if you chose this theme, I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. You can craft an entire story around that about love and how you don't need intelligence, bravery, courage. Love is universal, right? You can make a whole film about that. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Anyone know where that's from?
Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight. That one's kind of obvious. Again, super specific, super great way you can craft. You can just imagine a whole story around that. And the last one, some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. That one was from the last slide, Shawshank Redemption, about prison, which works with the whole theme that they're trying to convey. So, starting fresh on a story, guys, pick a theme that you can work on, something that's interesting to you. I have a good example here from Black Mirror. Has anyone seen Black Mirror? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's not a lot. I'm telling you guys right now, Black Mirror is going to go down as one of the best TV shows in history. Or it's going to be one of the greats. It is amazing. And I don't watch TV. I have a lot of filmmaker friends that recommend this show. So they chose the theme, what makes a person bad? What makes a person bad is a super simple way, a super simple theme. Now how do they go about executing this theme to make their story good? Okay, so they took a relatable character, a character just like you and I. Okay? They forced the audience to like him by pushing us through his struggle. So in story, if you push your characters through struggle with the audience, they can relate to him, they can see his point of view, they'll start to like him. And then at the end of everything, they reveal that he is a bad person. So, throughout the entire story of this episode, this character is blackmailed by a terrorist group to rob a bank, murder someone, and he's just a kid, he's crying through it all. We're like, geez, no, Kenny, you're such a good guy, you don't deserve this. And we love him, right? And then in the final stage of the movie, we reveal that they're blackmailing him for watching child pornography. So it's intense. But you ask yourself, Kenny's not a bad guy, but watching that you make yourself a bad person. It's illegal, right? So it begs the question, what makes a bad person bad? So I got an activity for everyone to do. I want you guys in the little groups of your friends that you have brought. If not, I can separate you guys. What I want you to do is work with this theme. Every man dies, not every man lives. And I want you in just 2 minutes, I'll give you 3 minutes, guys, to pick a conflict or struggle, and then what is the goal / desire. So make a very brief story. I'm going to pick on groups to just choose to tell me what their conflict and their desire was. Okay, ready? Go!